Hi, this is Cheryl St.Pierre. I am making this video in cooperation with Beebeecraft, and I am using the pyrite beads that I got in my order, as well as the Best Wish for Life carved beads that have the Om Mani Padme Hum symbols engraved in there, which represents the best wish for life. They say it means wisdom, kindness, and happiness. And you can see those special bracelets on the internet, or, well, I don't know where all they show it, but anyways, these are the same beads. A lot of those ones have plastic beads, but these are the genuine thing. So they're pretty neat beads. Anyways, I go into more detail about the beads a little bit later, but I wanted to also tell you about, ask you to consider joining me with becoming a package opener and doing tutorials with Beebeecraft. All you need is a channel on YouTube with 100 or more subscribers to do this. It's lots of fun. And the link will be in my description, where you can click and apply, and then you can have the fun just like I do. But I also wanted to show you another design that I came up with beforehand, and that's why it took me a bit to get this one out, because I was hemming and hawing, do I like this design? Okay, and so this was supposed to represent the roof of your home. And then I carefully wrapped, and I was going to teach the wrapping technique because it's got very neatly done, and I was just going to show you how to do it very precision-like. But the design of the earring kind of, I don't know, I didn't know if I really liked it or not, so I changed it up to these instead. And these are kind of interesting looking. They kind of have an oriental look, I guess, but I don't know. This is what I went with, and this is the one I'm teaching. So, what else did I want to say? I think that's it. So now let's just get started. Okay, so for supplies, the two items I'm using from my Beebeecraft is the carved beads, which are made out of obsidian. And what's carved is the symbols on them. I'm not sure what language is, whether it was Chinese or Japanese. I'm not sure what symbols it is, but it says carved because if you run your fingernail along it, you can actually feel. Here, let's get it into view. You can actually feel the letter. So it's gold paint on there. I don't think, it doesn't say that it's actually gold. So I would say it's just gold colored. It's about the color of gold though. It's great. And a little history on obsidian. It's actually made from lava that's been cooled very fast, so it didn't get a chance to crystallize. So it's basically nature-made glass, and it is on the brittle side. It's what early tools were made out of by, maybe the cavemen. Many arrowheads have been found because it's a brittle glass. It can be chipped away to get that sharp edge. So lots of arrowheads are found with made out of obsidian. And obsidian is kind of has a different quality. There's different colors of it. This one's definitely black, but there's some with a bit of a green hue and some with a bit of a red hue. And it kind of has a cat eye effect. I don't know if you can see this on the camera. If I turn it a certain way, especially right there, maybe it is catching it right there, it kind of goes grayish, and you can kind of look, if you put it up to your eye, you can kind of look into the stone a little bit with a big obsidian stone. Oh, obsidian is beautiful. You can see it in much more detail, but I think they picked actual obsidian for this because this is called an Om Mani Padme Hum, and it's basically to bring good luck. It means wisdom, kindness, happiness, representing the best wish for life. And these are 8mm beads, and you get one strand that's 15 inches long, and there's approximately 49 beads on a strand. So, and then what I want to use with it is the pyrite beads that I ordered, because pyrite, the coloring goes perfectly, because they look almost black. I don't know if you can, but there's a gold hue to them too. So it's black and gold again. So it goes perfectly with the carved obsidian beads. They're really tiny. So we have to use small, delicate wire to use them. Again, it's a brittle stone. And people that look into the meanings of stones will find that the pairing here very interesting, as well as the open circle I'm using. You can look up the meaning for that too, and it's kind of, I don't know. I just thought I'd try and put some of the symbolism together, and if you're interested, you could look it up yourself. Not everybody is into that kind of thing, but some people really are, and those are the ones that are really, really going to like this. But I just find this is a pretty look as well. I kind of love the look of the carving on the beads. It just, I don't know, it's just neat. So let's go on from here. What else you're going to need is, and I'm not going to do it metric on here. If you want the metric, look in the description, and the links to the beads will be in the description too, so you're going to need to look there anyways to get them. You're going to need, let's see, 18 gauge wire and 1 8-inch piece, and then you're going to need 24 gauge wire, 2 5-inch pieces, and 2 ear wires of choice, of course. I think that's it for supplies. Oh, the beads, you're going to need 2 of the carved beads, and you're going to need approximately 6 of the pyrite, although they can break. That's why I'm going with the 24 gauge. I originally was using 22 gauge, but some of them fit just fine and others don't, and I broke quite a few beads, and so I'm going, nope, we're going to go 26 gauge, and then we'll be, actually, sorry, did I say 26? I meant 24 gauge. I tried 22 gauge. That's what it was. So we're using 24 gauge wire and 2 5-inch lengths of it to make your bead drops. Okay, so I'm just going to set this aside. What you're going to need for tools for the mandrel, I'm using a ring mandrel. We're not hammering on it, so you can use a plastic one for, you know, it's just for sizing of the open circle. You're going to need your pliers, your chain nose, your round nose, and your flush cutters. I'm going to be using a metal file. I recommend a metal file for this. If you don't have metal files, of course you could use, you know, an acrylic nail file that you can get from a drugstore, but it'll work. I'm just using a metal file because I think it works a little, excuse me, little faster. You're going to need a hammer, and you could do it with just a flat hammer, but I'm using the ball peen. I'm using both ends, the ball peen and the flat. And your anvil, I just have a little piece of metal that I got at machining shop as a gift from somebody there. And let's see, a ruler, of course. I think that's all you're going to need. Yes, that's all your supplies. Okay, so let's get started by taking our ring mandrel. And I didn't pre-cut my 18 gauge wire, probably because I wanted to demonstrate something. Okay, so we want about 8 inches, and this is going to do both of them, and we're going to do it at once. But you see how kinky, it's all kinked, and we need to straighten that out, and it's easier to do one long length. So approximately 8 inches is what you're going to need. Okay, up there. I probably did 8.5 because it's got bend in it, and that's okay. It's better to be on the longer side than the shorter side. So I'm cutting off my 8 inches. Then I'm taking my pliers, my chain. It doesn't have to be chain nose pliers, but my pliers, and I'm going to straighten the wire. And so what I do, see, I'm using the tip of my thumb to give that bend, and as it comes out of the bend, it actually gets those kinks removed. And the reason why we need it longer than what we're actually going to use is because we need room to put the pliers, and it's the ends that are never get straightened all the way. Okay, so got the kink. I mean, sure, it's curved, but that's okay. I just wanted the kinks gone, and I've got that. And the extra work hardening is perfect for this project, so don't worry about work hardening. This is dead soft raw copper that I'm using, and I won't say where I get my wire from. You can ask. And I'm taking size 13 to wrap my wire around. Once it's done, it's going to stretch out to size 15. We actually wanted a size 15, but we're going to bend it at size 16, and the spring in the wire is going to take it up to the 15. And we're just going to wrap it around as much as we can till we run out of length. Yeah, I definitely got 8.5 inches. I've got lots of length, but that's okay. And it's stretched out, and see, it's right at size 15. Isn't that great? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to snip. See, it's going to be 2 rings. And on this end there's 3, and we want them, we're going to take our flush cutters and snip all 3 wires at the same time. And then we have 2 rings, and we're going to use those to make our open-ended circles for the open-ended hoop part of the earring. Now I want you to take your round nose. Actually, nope, sorry. Next step is to take your anvil. And with the flat side, we're going to hammer it to strengthen it, to help keep its form while we're working with it. Now we're not hitting so hard that we're flattening. It's just barely flattened at all. I've just to work harden it. Okay, to help keep its form. And you see it's spread apart a tiny bit, and that's okay. And it did the exact same thing for both of them. So we want to try and keep them similar with everything we do. Now the next thing you need to do, I'm just going to move this out of the camera to keep it handy because we're still going to use it yet. Take your round nose pliers, and we're going to make a loop going up. And we want it to be fairly large, between 1/3 of your pliers to 1/2 in there, but we want to make both of them, whichever you choose, to make them the same. So if you need to mark it, you can, but I'll show you a little trick that you can do. And I'm supporting the wire close to it because so I'm not stressing the whole circle. I'm just, the end is what's going to receive the pressure, because the pressure that I put on my thumb onto it will stop the whole circle from getting out of shape. Okay, so it's ending up being halfway up the pliers. Okay, so it's like that. And that's perfect. And so if you forgot where you were, you just put it in and push it, and then you can see exactly where you were. Now, you might notice it's not a perfect circle. It's got a bit of a straight edge. That's okay, as long as both of them end up with that. That was because my pliers were slipping off the end, and I had to move up just a smidge. And so it ended up with a bit of a straight part. So I'm doing the same with this one. Hopefully it turns out exactly the same. And if it doesn't, it's the opening here that gets affected. And you can just snip one off if it's a huge amount difference. But this one's a smidge longer, but not enough to matter. So, because we're going to be hammering, it's going to have some adjustments. Okay, so again, I'm going to flatten it because it's bent upwards. And I'm going to do the same with this one. This one's not too bad. Just going to work hard in it every time you do something like that. Now the next thing to do is I'm using the ball peen part now to give the decorating look, and one will be right and the other one will be left, like that. And you know, as far as wearing the earrings, you can, whoever purchases them, or if you're making them for yourself, or whoever you give them to, can choose what side they want to wear. Oh, excuse me. The open end to, the reason I have the circle facing in so far is the way it's shaped, it's not going to poke anybody with the open end, because it's kind of, what's going to touch the neck would be this, or that you could have that going out, you know, just this part against the neck. This is a better way to say it. Okay, so I'm going to now just get some shape in there. I'm not doing it too hard because I'm not flattening it too much. And then at the end, we want to flare it out. Just like that. Now, I'm not going to hammer this. I think you get the gist of how to do it. And from here on, I'm just making one earring. But all you need to do is at each stage is just compare it, make sure it's the right opening, and if you have to, you can always just at the end hold it and snip off both just a tiny bit, just to make sure that they're both the same. Okay, so there. I think I'm done with the hammer and anvil now. Oh, one more thing. Sometimes it gets deformed, and this one is a tiny bit. You just lightly tap it like this so you don't take away your decorative hammering. But see how it's flared? And you can flare it a little bit more. So then the next step is to take your file and you're just gonna make sure that there's nothing sharp. And again, I'm supporting it at the end because we don't want to wreck the circle. And you just work away at it until you're happy. And it's not taking major length off or anything like that. Just getting rid of sharpness. And burrs, I think is what you could call it. And this is where you would use your, if you don't have a metal file, a nail file. It's got a corner here that just is being stubborn. Okay, there. And at that point, then you would compare the two and make sure that they're the same shape. And if you have to, if say you did bend it out of shape a little bit, then you would just put it on here. Again, if you put it on size 13 and squish it together, it should, you know, almost go in the full circle. And then put it to the 15, and it, because it's been work hardened, it doesn't have as much spring. So, and if it was sterling silver, it would have more spring, because silver and copper have different properties for different things. Okay, so it's at 15, and then you just, now it went really close. I want it to open up a little bit more. I'm going to do it just a smidge more. And then I would just make sure that they're both the same. Okay, and now that's ready to set aside. And now we're going to make the bead drop. So I'm going to get my beads ready. I'm going to start with 6. I might need to take more because they are tiny. They do break easy because they're brittle. Pyrite is brittle. And for those that don't know that, pyrite is fool's gold. And then I want 2 of the obsidian beads. And then you're going to take your 2 lengths of 24 gauge wire. And again, it doesn't hurt to work harden it at all. You're going to make sure that it doesn't have kinks. And I want you to now take your round nose pliers and take the tip, the smallest part of your round nose pliers, and make an eye loop head pin. So I'm just using the tip of my pliers. And at first it's a P loop, and then I'm just going to put the pliers in and bend it back like that till I get the eye loop. Okay, so I need to make sure that's closed. Okay, and now I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to work harden. I'm going to squish it just to give that strength and hold it there. And I'm also going to straighten the wire just above the head pin at bottom and strengthen it, because it's 24 gauge is pretty small. So it just needs a little bit of work hardening to give it strength to hold the beads as straight as possible. And now I'm going to put the beads on, and you're going to do this for both of them. I'm only going to show one on the camera. Okay, and then 3 of the little tiny pyrite faceted rondelles. And they are tiny because they're only 2 millimeters. And they're hard for me to see because of the color and all, where the hole in them is. Especially holding it under the camera. My goodness. There, finally. So I'm going to do this off camera because it's just taking too long on camera. Okay, so I'm back and I have all the beads on, and I want you to take your round nose pliers and decide what length it would be to do about 4 wraps. And I'm just, on my pliers, it's just slightly smaller than halfway. And now I'm just going to push this to make my loop. I want a fairly small loop, you know, like what you would want for your ear wire. And then make it nice and neat. Wrap around, and it should get about 4 wraps in there. You don't want it too tight because pyrite breaks easy. So, you know, to the best of your ability, don't, when you snip and crimp, don't put too much pressure on the beads because you could break them. So I'm going to snip this as close as possible so I don't have to crimp much in. Okay, and then you're going to make sure your beads are straight. If they're not, just with your fingers straighten them. I'm going to work harden that circle a tiny bit, not too hard. If you squeeze too hard, you could compromise the integrity of the wire because it is small already. And you want this loop and the bottom loop to be perpendicular to each other, so opposite directions. And there is the bead drop. And now to assemble it, so you're going to take your ear wire and you're going to I just have to make sure I've got the right one here. Yes, there we go. So you're going to open up the ear wire loop, and you're putting on the open circle first, and then your bead drop right onto the ear wire. And you want to make sure that the loops are closed, all of them. And I did this ahead of time, made sure that loop was closed. And then when it hangs, it's approximately in the center of the circle. But even if it weren't fully centered, it's going to still, so it goes down to about the center. So anywhere in that proximity, it's gonna look good. There. And I already assembled my second one. And notice that they are mirrored. There we go. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me in this tutorial. And I wanted to tell you and invite you about my memberships. Beside the join button, beside the subscribe button is a join button where I have paid memberships where you can subscribe to my retired videos or the tips and hints videos. If you're subscribed to the retired videos, then you have access to everything that's on my channel, and you get the tips and hints as well as all my retired videos. And I retire my videos about when they're about 2 years old. So that's something to consider doing if you like my designs and my style. And I thank you very much for that. It helps me make my channel worthwhile. And thank you for joining me. God bless, and bye for now.